and I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks News Pack for the Wednesday, December the 14th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as it's a game day. It is the Flames, it is the Canucks, and I'm wearing my Kraken shirt. I get it, but it is the first time these two teams have met this season, and so we will get into that. Of course, we got a historic moment that happened last night with the great Alex Ovechkin getting his 800th goal against the Chicago Blackhawks, and much more to talk about. But yeah, let's start with the Flames and the Canucks. It is first time they will meet this year, and it's a close terms of standings right now. Kind of one of those four point games, if you will. Of course, as we look here, as these two teams, yes, the Canucks did start off with a horrible start, and the Flames got off to a great start, but they've actually closed the gap. So Calgary, of course, is outside of the playoff spot right now, 13-11-5, 31 points, 1 point behind the Minnesota Wild, 3 points behind the Edmonton Oilers for that wild card spot. And then you have Vancouver 12-13-3 with 27 points, 5 points out of that wild card spot. Canucks lineup looking like it will be, as we look at the lineup here, a couple things with the Canucks. You've got the lines look like Horvat, Miller, and Curtis Lazar looks like going to be playing with Horvat and Miller. Jack Studnicka was practicing with them. It looks like that's going to be Horvat and Miller. Pettersson, Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, who has been their best line all year. Then you have Dries with Garland and Besser, and then Amon, Dakota Joshua, Jack Studnicka. On defense, it looks like Quinn Hughes, Luke Shen, Oliver Ekman-Larsson with Ethan Bear, and then Kyle Burrows gets back in the lineup with Tyler Myers, Niels Höglander, and Riley Stillman, the scratches, and Spencer Martin getting the call and goal. For the Flames, Lindholm does get back in the lineup. It looks like he's skating with Huberdeau and Toffoli. It's Kadri, Dubé, and Mangiapane. Backlund, Ruzicka, and Blake Coleman. Zahorna, Lewis, and Brett Ritchie, which means Matthew Phillips scratched. Does not make his home debut. In the home city. And Milan Lucic, third straight game that he's been scratched. Defensively, Hannafin, Anderson, Zadorov, Weegar, Mackey, Stone, which means Chris Tanev, of course, is not playing tonight as well. It looks like Sutter says he's day-to-day. So he's with an upper body injury. So that's what's going on there. Of course, the questions around the Canucks include the contract status of Bill Horvat, who did release a statement through the Canucks yesterday about that he will not be talking about his contract status anymore. Of course, reports came that he turned down a contract offer earlier this week from the Canucks, which has led to a bunch of trade speculation. We'll have to see what happens here about that. I think we're just all in wait and see mode. And of course, that's kind of the big story. And it's kind of just with the Canucks. You don't know what to expect from week to week. This is their first game since 3 days off since they got shut out by the Minnesota Wild. And they've been they're inconsistent through the game, but they are 7-6-2 on the road. So the Flames, though, have struggled on the road, but have played well at home, 10-5-1. Of course, their big question is about getting Markstrom healthy and mentally healthy and back on the rhythm, and which that looks like has happened. He played very well against Montreal. He played very well against Columbus. We'll see how Elias Lindholm goes after missing one game with an upper body injury, and we'll see how this defense plays without Chris Tanev. Connor Mackey showed well. But this Chris Tanev is one of the most important players in the Calgary lineup, no question about it. When he's out, it's different. If you don't believe me, remember the Battle of Alberta, and so that will be a pretty interesting matchup in terms of that. So first time Canucks Flames. We'll be talking more Flames tomorrow. We'll do our Flames Focus podcast tomorrow around 7 Pacific, 8 Mountain, to keep it to keep us going there. Of course, the other news from last night was the night that Alex Ovechkin had. Of course, he got 3 goals. He got the hat trick against the Chicago Blackhawks, putting him in a historic position. Of course, the Capitals for the game won the game against the Chicago Blackhawks 7-3. Ovechkin got 3 goals, and that puts him in 800, which means he's now in some pretty exclusive company here. And next will be the special moment as he joins Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky in the 800 goal club, and then we've got Ovechkin 1 away from that getting to that history. So it's a complicated thing, to be honest with you, with Ovechkin. In terms of the goal scorer, he's probably the greatest goal scorer who has ever played the game. He's probably going to go down as one of the greatest players who have ever played the game. But also, I think some people will be always wondering about his political stance, and I think that just leaves a little bit of an awkward feeling for some. And I think that that's important to acknowledge that when you're talking about Ovechkin, and just that uncomfortable feeling with the current political climate as is. No question in terms of his accomplishment. It is a significant accomplishment, and so you have to kind of give him credit for that. And we'll see what happens as we go forward here, when Ovechkin quite likely passes Gordie Howe, and then ultimately, I guess we'll have the conversation as he passes Wayne Gretzky. And I don't think that it's now out of the realm of possibility that Ovechkin will pass Wayne Gretzky. He's 94 away. That's really for him a season and a half, maybe 2 seasons for him to do that. The way that goal scoring is up this year, there were a lot of goals last night. There were also a lot of shutouts last night, though. So I think we're in that moment where we're going to be seeing the history. I do think we are going to see Ovechkin pass Wayne Gretzky, and that is where we're at this particular point in time. Just looking at the games from yesterday, the other games, wanted to touch on the Oilers game against the Predators. I thought that was a pretty significant game. Oilers win 6-3. Leon Draisaitl 5 points. Daily Faceoff saw this headline today: is Leon Draisaitl underrated? What an interesting question that is, because I don't think a lot of people would consider Draisaitl one of the 2 best offensive players in the game. But Draisaitl continues to produce along with McDavid, and when they do, the Oilers seem to win. That's what happens there. Golden Knights beat the Jets 6-5 in a game, of course, between 2 division leaders. Kraken lose to the Lightning 6-2. I'm wondering if the Kraken we're starting to see the bit of that regression from the Kraken. I wonder if we'll start to see that with them. They're still sitting in second place in the Pacific Division, and I still think they will be competing for a playoff spot. I really do. But there's also been the regression to the mean with the Kraken as well, especially that road record. It is 9-3-1. That's really impressive. 6-4 though in their last 10. Actually, the Oilers, if you look at division, like just in terms of the division, the hottest team for the last 10 in the Pacific is the Edmonton Oilers at 7-3, and Vancouver is sitting at 6-4. So that is what's going on with them there. So we'll just wonder where the Kraken will be at this point, where they fade a little bit there. Well, in terms of some of the other games that are going on tonight, 2 other games tonight in the National Hockey League. So let's look at them. Late night NHL wise, we've got the Canadiens and the Senators. Canadiens coming in 14-12-2. Sam Montembeault will get the call and goal. And of course, they're coming up that big shutout with against the Flames. Cole Caulfield is projected to be in the lineup with Suzuki and Doc. Senators coming in 12-14-2, and they will have Cam Talbot starting goal. The Minnesota Wild taking on the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings lose last night to the Hurricanes 1-0. Alex Nedeljkovic will get the call and goal for Detroit. And for Minnesota, the call, Philip Gustafson, who got the shutout against Vancouver, gets the call and goal for Minnesota. So that's pretty much in terms of that. We'll just look at the injury news here. And one other thing, Tim Stützle will be out at least a week with the shoulder injury. He got injured in the Monday's 3-0 win against the Anaheim Ducks after a hit from Brett Larson. So at least a week there. And Tyler Mott also is week to week after he got a hit from Simon Benoit as well. Jonathan Drouin will return. He missed 13 in the game tonight. He's missed 13 games with an upper body injury, 4 assists in 12 games. Placed on long-term injured reserve on November the 16th. And Jason Zucker out week to week with a lower body injury with the Penguins. He left in the second period of the 2-1 win against the Stars on Monday. Zucker, kind of an underrated player for the Penguins. I think this is one that they'll miss. They'll get Danton Heinen into that spot with Malkin and Rust there. Looks like, and Pavel Buchnevich will return against the Blues, against the Oilers on Thursday. He's missed 4 games with a lower body injury. Hasn't played since December 5th, 6-4 loss to his former team, the New York Rangers. And so that's what's going on there. And Vegas, give them credit with that 6-5 win. There's no Eichel, no Theodore, no Whitecloud, and still are finding ways to win. So that also is there. Also, Barry Trotz spoke today. A lot of speculation going on. And Nashville's one of those teams that a lot of people are just feeling a bit the disappointment bug around. Questioning John Hines. They lose to the Oilers last night. And so the question is Barry Trotz. We remember there was the whole thing with Winnipeg last year. Would he go there? He lives in Nashville, but he says he's unlikely to coach this year. He said, unlikely to coach. He says he has been contacted by teams, but he just says he's not there. He was on the Chirp with Darren Millard podcast. So he says he's going to continue to stay true to myself and family right now. So Trotz continuing. That name will still be out there, but that name looking like Trotz is not going to coach this year. AHL action tonight. We've got the few games going on. The Wranglers. We'll look at the Wranglers game. Try to do that a little bit more here. Wranglers last night played. They played and lost. And just pulling up the information here. But yeah, so they lost 4-1 in the Manitoba Moose last night. Wranglers have been playing a little bit better. They got off to a slow start there. They got playing a little bit better. Outshot 39-35. Cole Schwint scores his 8th for the Wranglers. Jeff Mallett, Dominic Tominato, Mallett again, and Gawanke. So Mallett with 2 goals come away with the win, 4-1. So that was that. It was Dustin Wolf that took the loss, 35 saves, and the loss. Arvid Holm got the win with 34 saves for the Manitoba Moose. As for the games tonight, we got Springfield taking on Bridgeport, Lavalquate taking on Utica, Hartford and Milwaukee, Coachella Valley taking on Tucson, and San Jose taking on Henderson Silver Knights, and then Abbotsford taking on the San Diego Gulls there. So, of course, the Canucks playing the Gulls in San Diego. Abbotsford coming in with a record of 12-8-1, and they're 26 points, which is 1 point behind the Barracuda, 1 point tied with the Roadrunners in the division. The Gulls have the worst record in the division and least amount of points in the league right now, with a record of 6-18. And WHL action, we've got 5 games. We've got the Medicine Hat Tigers taking on the Prince Albert Raiders. Spokane Chiefs taking on the Regina Pats. The Kelowna Rockets taking on the Rockets in action tonight. They're out to Swift Current to take on the Broncos. It is the Edmonton Oil Kings taking on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Tri-City Americans taking on the Everett Silvertips, and the Vancouver Giants head to the island to take on the Victoria Royals. As for the results yesterday, one I really did want to mention here is the Saskatoon Blades continue to quietly sneak up the standings here. I know that everybody is focused on another team as Saskatchewan, but the Saskatoon Blades, an 8-3 win over the Medicine Hat Tigers, 3 for 5 on the power play. And then you had Prince George lose to Seattle 8-1. Prince George came in shorthanded, 16 forwards, number of injuries, but the Thunderbirds continuing to show why they're the number 1 ranked team in the CHL. And then Spokane beat Moose Jaw 5-2. So that will be the news pack for today. Of course, reminder again, we'll have our podcast tomorrow, scheduled for 7 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Mountain. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy Canucks 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneids SCHNAIDZ, Devin Gordhow 09. I am KEVOLE. Shifts and Pucks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.